Hello, fellow innovators. This is Patrick Emmons.
And this is Shelley Nelson.
Welcome to the Innovation and the Digital Enterprise Podcast, where we interview successful visionaries and leaders, giving you an insight into how they drive and support innovation within their organizations.
Today, we're welcoming Mike Seper to the show. Mike works with the National Security Innovation Network as a university program director at Washington University in St. Louis. He supports national security through innovation and building networks of talented problem solvers. He's also a contributor of Entrepreneur Media, Entrepreneur Leadership Network. Mike is a proud graduate of the University of Hawaii, where he received his bachelor's in entrepreneurial studies, marketing, and management, and he completed his MBA in business administration and management from the University of Alaska, Fairbanks. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Mike, if you don't mind, please share with our listeners, for those who aren't aware, if you could tell us a little bit more about the National Security Innovation Network and your role. And before you jump into that, congratulations on Mayor Jones of St. Louis. I heard that she announced that the week of August 7th was the National Security Innovation Week. Clearly demonstrates an appreciation for what you're doing.
Yes, fantastic partnership. So I feel very fortunate to represent the National Security Innovation Network at Washington University in St. Louis, and we're engaging the brightest minds in the Midwest. So we want to be able to encourage innovation, entrepreneurship, and new pathways for students, for faculty, researchers, innovators to get involved in national security and be able to help solve defense-related problems. So the National Security Innovation Network creates simply that, a fantastic network of innovators and researchers that are working to bring together new solutions and be able to integrate those solutions to help our warfighters. So we want to have that best technology that is available not only in a commercial market, but for defense and what we call dual use. So we help faculty, students, and startups find ways to be able to support the Department of Defense. We want to solve problems and to be able to get the best technology to our warfighters.
Awesome. How long has the National Security Innovation Network existed? When did it get started? Who started it?
So we have been around for about 5 years. So we're a program office under the Secretary of Defense. So under the Undersecretary of Defense, Research and Engineering. And so we work closely with the Defense Innovation Unit. And so NSIN is that outreach into the universities and helping fulfill the innovation pipeline for great talent from students and faculty to be able to support the Department of Defense and to be able to look at novel research to be able to solve defense problems.
I think people, and myself, the whole concept of the DIU, and forgive me, it's the Defense Innovation Unit.
That's correct.
Yeah. Tell the audience a little bit more about that, because I just recently learned about that as well. And I think it's a really interesting opportunity and community, and I think things people aren't aware of.
Absolutely. And the DIU Defense Innovation Unit sees the potential here in the Midwest as well. So offices on the East and West Coast, but a new office just opened up in Chicago. So seeing the great talent of universities in the area and trying to build an ecosystem here for may have been underrepresented. We have the students and the talent here. So now we need to be able to create new opportunities for students to be able to stay here in the Midwest and to be able to serve their country in ways that might not require wearing a uniform, but using innovation to be able to advance what we can do to solve problems. So Defense Innovation Unit is a tremendous organization that allows us to create opportunities that advance security initiatives. So helping the Department of Defense through innovation. And that's what's so exciting about this partnership. The National Security Innovation Network falls under the Defense Innovation Unit. So it really is an organization that we're able to support and that supports our initiatives that we can feed opportunities back and forth. So fantastic partnership, and really emphasizes the importance of the Midwest and what we can do to support initiatives nationwide.
Yeah, I think it's tremendous. I think it's really exciting. Everything that I've learned. What if for everybody listening, what are the types of innovations? What type of opportunities? What kind of problems are you currently and potentially going to be solving?
A wide range. So I would say there's a couple of focus areas that Defense Innovation Unit and that is of interest with energy and autonomy of what this unmanned systems look like for the future. So understanding autonomy, AI, and the energy needs of the battlefield. So this area amongst many others that we're focused on. But this area is very interesting for me because we get to see what the future of unmanned systems looks like. If that's on the water, in the air, on the ground, being able to have something that is controlled without a warfighter in harm's way. So how can we look at using autonomy and optimizing our energy to be able to fulfill the mission?
I'm also very curious, like when it comes to these types of efforts or programs or projects, right? What does it look like for the people who are involved in it? Is it predominantly the students in this case at Wash U? Is it people in the community in St. Louis? How do people get involved in this? What would that look like from an engagement standpoint?
And that's great. I'm asking because we can really engage everyone. So students that are interested in looking at what happens in their career. So they want to build an resume while they're in school. So we offer opportunities like our X-Force Fellowship where they can get real world experience and build that resume by supporting the Department of Defense and working with our mission partners on projects over the summer. We just wrapped up and had a fantastic summer session with students from across the country. And we want to be able to create that pipeline now. So we want to be able to engage and show the opportunities of what this means upon graduation. And that we also want to be able to look at creating a smoother transition so that they can fill jobs within the Department of Defense through programs like our Hire-a-thon. So how do we identify great talent that can support the Department of Defense and be able to work with our mission partners to solve problems?
So what is you've been doing this a couple of years now. I guess one of the questions I'd like to hear is like, what is your biggest success so far? And as specific as I understand you can be from like an outcome. I know engaging the students and creating the community and all those things, but I think everybody would appreciate to understand like a little bit more of like, this is what we're achieving in a real physical sense. And this is how we provided value to one of the branches of the military or to a DIU or whatever, however that manifests itself.
Sure. One of the great opportunities that I've had is working with the Missouri Army National Guard. And so we're working on initiatives across many of our different programs with our capstone classes to be able to create something for our mission partners through Hacking for Defense, to be able to explore a problem further, to be able to do 100 different interviews and understand some of the challenges that are being encountered with adopting new solutions. And with our X-Force Fellowship, to be able to have students work on projects, one of them being this holistic health and fitness, looking at soldier readiness. How do you help the guardsmen to be able to prepare for their 1 week a month to be able to serve, and what happens outside of that time frame? So we want to give them better tools, better understanding of what fitness, mental health, physical health, all of this plays into soldier readiness. And so we've been able to work with Major McClellan at the Missouri Army National Guard and have built a great partnership there, where she is now leading a regional effort where we're working with multiple universities across what is called Region 5, so across the Midwest, Southwest, to be able to improve soldier readiness through National Guard units and to be able to get students engaged with other members that might be their same age to understand some of the difficulties and better relate to those. And so it opens up a completely new opportunity for the students to learn about what it means to serve and how others are contributing and how we can help contribute from the classroom.
Awesome. Obviously, though, there's so much change going on right now from what used to be our peer competitors, right? And what we didn't have peer competitors for a pretty healthy period of time there. And, that term's relatively new to me as well. With everything that's going on right now, where there's clearly various hotspots in the world, is this impacting some of the research that you're doing? Is this, is there a focus? You mentioned, unmanned aerial systems. Obviously, I've seen myself how much the attention has been around, drone technology. But how much is what's going on in Russia and Ukraine, is that stuff that is impacting the direction? Because focusing on the National Guard and their health and fitness, obviously big issue, and that the health and fitness issue overall for the military is a big issue, right? From a recruiting the right candidates, those types of things. But I guess going back to my first point is, is the Russia and Ukraine situation impacting what you're seeing?
I think it helps more people understand the importance of the mission. So when you're seeing it on the news every day and you understand the impact it is having on people's lives that are just trying to do the best that they can in the scenario that is being brought to their country in Ukraine, and how we can help support the freedom of the people there. So it really does inspire some students. I've heard them say that they want to be a part of the great mission that we are building because they want to be able to support others, or hearing from students that might have a connection to some of these places that are being impacted. So this makes it very important of what we're doing, and the importance of using science and technology to give ourselves the upper hand and to be able to support our warfighters and others that are just fighting for their freedom and for their safety and for their homeland. So we want to be able to use the initiatives we have to be able to support, and it really opens up new opportunities for startups that are developing, like you had mentioned, maybe a new drone technology, and they're looking at an application for a use case in Ukraine that had not existed a year ago. But now that there's a need for this, drones have changed the battlefield for what we're seeing for this conflict, and how we can use this and better utilize the technology. And it's really exciting to see what startups, what students and others are developing, because they want to gravitate to supporting others and supporting freedom across the nation and across Ukraine.
And so as you're saying that, I was thinking about, yes, the military applications turn into civilian applications that turn into commercial applications, and maybe it goes commercial and then civilian. Because I worked at Motorola growing up, and one of their really big pivotal moments of their lifetime as an organization was creating the walkie-talkie that was used and like a critical element of communication in World War II, right? This huge box, right? That, you no longer had to have a backpack radio. You could actually send them out with teams. And clearly that set them on the path of really dominating that whole portable communication network. So you mentioned startups, where does some of the other, is there other places in addition to startups where the tech is coming from to give us that competitive advantage in the battlefield and supporting the war fighters and empowering our partners? Because I think that's a really big difference from our strategic plan to create peace in the world. Are there other places outside of startups? I'm going to assume there's, like you mentioned, the people in the university. Are you engaging different innovation labs in universities? I guess I'll just let you answer the question instead of answering before you. So,
yeah, so that's a great point of what we're doing to be able to engage universities and university-owned intellectual property. And we just finished up a program called Emerge, where we had Washington University intellectual property and researchers that are looking at what these applications can do to help the Department of Defense. So we finished an Accelerator program. They helped understand their customer and how the Department of Defense can utilize some of these technologies. So we had some that were novel proteins. We had some that were chemical earmuffs, and ways that we can engage to be able to bring research out of the lab into the battlefield and understand how we can help support. And that might be in ways to be able to use as I mentioned, the team that had just went through our Emerge program from WashU had just run our STARTS combat feeding program within weeks after finishing Emerge. They the technology that was went through our accelerator, saw the opportunity with the Department of Defense, and now was able to win $100,000 to be able to advance their technology. So getting money into the lab to fund promising research is a really exciting component of what we're doing, because we can make a real impact with these researchers to know that there's a path forward for their research and that it's really going to be helping in a variety of ways. And this one was combat feeding. So really exciting to be part of this. And it's not only startups, but that the great minds we're engaging to be able to support, even from community members and students and faculty.
That is tremendous. And I think to this point, and why I'm really glad we're having this conversation, is there is a lot of opportunities there to engage in a way that I think many people aren't aware of. That, they're from an educational standpoint, investment standpoint, and support standpoint. I agree. I think there's a lot of missed opportunities for startups and for universities, right? So that's tremendous. I do want to get, you'd mentioned a couple of times now, right? Like engaging with different groups, right? And I think anybody who does innovation understands that diversity fuels innovation, right? Like if we had I use the concept of like just a larger horizon, right? Like you've got more people, they have more experience, they bring a bigger background. You really have a better opportunity of coming up with an even better solution when you've got that. So, I know that is a big part of what you do. I understand that's like core value stuff for you. So tell us, if you don't mind, some of the victories that you've had around that and how you engage diversity to make sure that you're fueling the innovation process.
Absolutely. And we have experts in the field that we are able to engage. And we're always looking at diversity as a big component of what we're doing to create opportunities for everyone. So I look at it as inclusive innovation. And as you mentioned, that fresh perspective. So you want to be able to engage everyone in innovation. And what we're doing is creating opportunities for students and faculty and others to be able to start serving their country and using their expertise. And this could be subject matter experts in any area of study. And they're able to contribute what they have been teaching or researching in the labs. And now they are able to bring maybe new technologies or earlier stage tech that students and others can start looking at how to advance. And if we understand what the opportunities are and to be able to include everyone, so equitable economic development, and to be able to have that rising tide lifting all boats, we need to be everyone in the nation and they have a seat to be able to contribute. And that's what's exciting. We have a program and it's called Diversity Unlocks Innovation. So what we're doing is creating opportunities for students to start engaging and understanding what it means to be able to serve. And so we just finished up our HBCU, Historically Black College and University, GeoEnt program. So understanding geospatial technologies. And our host, Harris Stowe State University in St. Louis, hosted HBCU students from across the country. They were able to go through a fellowship, and I was honored to be able to contribute to it because these are students that did not have this understanding of geospatial technology. NGA West, the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, is building a new headquarters in St. Louis, and we want to be the center of geospatial research and to be able to be inclusive of everyone across the Midwest, across the nation that wants to be able to learn more about how geospatial is applied. And we want to have the best minds to be able to start engaging, and the earlier we can expose them to that, the better.
That's tremendous. I can't applaud you enough for that. I think a lot of people say that they want to do diversity, and then I ask how, and very often they don't really know how. And obviously you're going to, historically Black colleges and universities, engaging people who are ready, they are capable. And the concept that I always try to reinforce is like, we need everybody, right? Like and not just because they bring a diversity, it's just, there's a shortage of people. We need everybody focused on real problems and contributing. And I think that's going to be the biggest challenge we're faced with over the next decade to get to, 2030. It's really, how are we engaging even more people? I'm curious because, we hear the cynicism of modern America and the kids, they're not really, patriotic, or they don't feel an affinity for their country. Is that something you see as a challenge? Is that something you see as real? What's your perspective when people get engaged in these efforts and they know they're actually supporting our military?
And I'll share that the question about diversity. I think that's one of our greatest advantages is when we're inclusive of everyone in the United States, melting pot. Everyone wants to come to the United States, opportunities and thinking about what they can do to contribute to their country and being proud. So I don't see that issue with a lack of patriotism with everyone that I work with, if they're first generation Americans or families that have been here many generations, that we are being able to create opportunities for anybody that wants to be able to contribute in a way that wasn't available before. So this is what's so exciting for me, is because we can look at ways that students can contribute to their country. And it might be a different perspective of service, but it makes me really proud that we have so many students interested in what they can do to contribute and create something special.
So then I got to ask this question, right? Because I think it's a tremendous opportunity. I have two sons that are on the precipice of going into college, and it is amazing to see at some of these universities that it's no longer just the classroom, right? And I think it's a tremendous situation when you can see that there's opportunities to work with NASA, to work with DoD, to work with these organizations. And clearly our country needs that. They need people to contribute and support, even if they're not wearing the uniform, right? So it's a tremendous situation that I don't remember seeing when I was in school. It might have had something to do with my academic record, but, some of us mature a little bit later on in life, right? But with that mindset of like, hey, these opportunities exist, how do people get engaged? Where do they go? What's the first step? How do they start to get going and learn a little bit more to find out if it's a good fit for them, see if it's something they want to contribute in, what's going to be the commitment, the impact to them personally? How do they get started?
Well, I hope the students that are involved, I hope your sons are able to attend one of the many universities that NSIN serves. So we have representatives like myself across the nation, and we want to be able to find those students that want to be able to explore and have an opportunity with innovation. So it's a peer learning where they can learn from others in the classroom, that they can work with mission partners. And we want to be able to engage everyone. So we create pathways that are easy to be able to engage, like our Defense Entrepreneurial Symposium that we just hosted a couple of weeks ago. And that's Secretary Jones had issued a proclamation naming National Security Innovation Week in St. Louis, where we had hundreds of participants from across the country. We had investors, as you mentioned, funding new emerging research and technology can be difficult. So you have to be able to find someone that believes in what you're developing and sees a path ahead. So for commercial applications, for dual use, there are investors that are very interested in this because they believe in the mission and they believe in supporting our warfighters. So we also had students and faculty that were sharing their experience of what it was like to go through NSIN programming. One of those was the Emerge participant that I mentioned that had come through and won our Starts Combat Feeding event. So we want to be able to share success stories, and we want to be able to lower the barriers to entry that everyone can participate, if that were through classes or community events, ways that they understand the intellectual property that's available for licensing, ways that they can start engaging and understanding more of what innovation means and how they can contribute. So that's what's really exciting for me, is that this was not available when I was in school either, Patrick. And these are the things that I want to create for others going forward. So it's this opportunity to learn and experience, and experiential learning, in my perspective, is the best way to be able to understand how you can contribute and what you're doing to build for the future.
As an entrepreneurial, right? We're both entrepreneurs. I honestly think that is probably the only way, right? You've got to go stick your face in it and go figure it out. And I think for a lot of people who are wired for that, it's a relief to know that these things exist. So is there a website that somebody can go to kind of learn more about the process and how to engage? Where would they go? Absolutely.
So first, start checking out our website. So National Security Innovation Network is NSIN, NSIN.mil. We have a newsletter that comes out on Monday that shares all of the opportunities, events, and ways that people across the nation can engage. So we want to be able to welcome everyone into our network and to be able to show ways that they can start contributing. So I recommend everyone visit NSIN.mil and to be able to explore the different programs that we offer and ways that they can start contributing.
Fantastic. It's really great stuff. Really appreciate you sharing that with us. I guess one of the last concept that I'd like to get your perspective on is around, I was just at the Information Technology Conference for the Air Force, and clearly the DoD is faced with some, like we all are, with labor shortages. What are you seeing as some of the more successful approaches that maybe other people could learn from to get more people interested, engaged? My family has a strong military history, and even people in my family think if you're joining the military, you're going to be sent into combat, where that is a very small portion of people in the DoD. So from your experience, what have you seen? What are you trying? What are some of the strategic investments you're making to deal with these labor shortages?
We have different programs available to have more collaboration. So the better we can work with universities, the better we can identify the great talent that is in these universities, and that they do not have to leave for the coast. They can stay here in the Midwest. They can contribute to national service. And we want to find problem solvers. So we want to understand the capabilities gaps that we currently have and to be able to fill those with great talent. And as we mentioned before, the importance of diversity. So being able to find those students early, and they gravitate towards National Security Innovation Network classes that are offered so they can start contributing while they're in school. They can go through fellowships over the summer. They can build a tremendous resume. And a lot of times these students shine through these fellowships and are offered opportunities for employment upon graduation. So this is really exciting because these are opportunities that I certainly didn't have when I was coming out of school, that I could already have a job waiting for me. I did not have to start going out and looking for something because I did such a great job in a fellowship. They wanted to hire me as soon as I graduated. And I've had the great privilege of working with many students that have really exceeded expectations of what they were able to do and how they were able to contribute. And it changed their perspective of what they may decide to do in their career. And that's what's so exciting, is innovation and collaboration and accelerating that to what happens next. Do they form a startup? Maybe they don't work for somebody. That being an innovator, an entrepreneur, is a lot more exciting for students than it's ever been before. And they can do both. They can serve their country. They can build a tremendous startup. So there's a lot of interest in how we can support students' ideas and to be able to see that contribute to America and economic development and innovation and ways that we can support the next generation.
It's amazing. It really is. It's truly an amazing opportunity. I'm really glad we're able to have you on today, because I think is this something, I guess my wife's a teacher, and I always think is this something that high school teachers could participate in to get more awareness even earlier on?
We don't really offer a lot of high school programs, just full transparency. It's usually focused on, I would say, later stage. So finding those students when they're a little later on in their university careers. Yep. So I don't know if this is something that is a fit, or, I don't want to deter anyone from not pursuing something, but I think your sons, as you mentioned, their interest aligns perfectly with what we're doing. So I think that understanding, as we build out some of these capabilities at the universities, how do we start reaching those students at a younger age? And the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency is doing that with their new headquarters and engaging younger students. And I'd love to see more of that in the future.
As I've mentioned before, my son's in Civil Air Patrol, and we were up at the air show up in Oshkosh, and they had such a large amount of engagement going on with younger people. And it wasn't just the Air Force. The Air Force had a bunch of simulators, which everybody loved. They had pilots there to talk about their experiences and engage with the kids who were there. But Boeing was there, Siemens was there. I think everybody understands they've got to create awareness around these opportunities significantly earlier than waiting till they get to that college level, right? It's because they're competing for talent, as we all are. It's tremendous that these things exist. Or they actually had like an ATC simulator where you could act like you're an air traffic controller and you're moving planes around. Where like somebody literally had to build that for this event, right? Like this is how important it is to these various organizations. So it is, there's such a rich environment out there for people who are looking to engage. And I agree. I think entrepreneurialism is something I think everybody should try at least once. I think it does change your perspective on working for other people, being a good teammate, understanding business, understanding marketing, all those great things. So,
and the motivation to be able to go out and achieve for yourself and without needing someone to tell you what to do and when to do it. I think once you're an entrepreneur, you always take that initiative and you want to be a leader yourself. And I think the difference between somebody that's maybe been in a management role and someone that's been in a leadership role and that has been able to achieve beyond anything they thought possible because others supported them. And that's what I really love about this is the mentors that they engage. And it really is a network of supporters that want to see students and others succeed. And it's been tremendous. So fellowship opportunities and other ways to engage in classroom settings, hacks where you can put together teams of students or faculty or startups that are working to solve real world problems is really exciting. And this is just something that I'm really passionate about. I love contributing and I'm thankful for you having me on today. So this has been great to be able to share more. If anybody wants to learn a bit more about the National Security Innovation Network, check out NSIN, NSIN.mil. And just thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you. It's tremendous. I was going to say, Mike, why didn't they have this when we were, at this age, right? I wouldn't have done it. I mean, let's be honest. It was in college. I was preoccupied with stupidity. So, but there are smarter kids out there.
So I was hungry for these type of opportunities when I was in school. I created my own major. So I'm a proud graduate of MSIs, Minority Serving Institutions at University of Hawaii, University of Alaska Fairbanks. I developed my own major in entrepreneurial studies because that did not exist when I was in school. I helped found an entrepreneurship club and participated in innovation competitions. So these are the things that I was always eager to find. And now I help create those pathways for the students that want to be able to contribute on that level as well. So as you and I went through these, if we could have had this time to be able to engage with faculty and engage with mission partners, and what these opportunities do is create completely new initiatives that students can start seeing what's out there. So just one quick example is we had a class that worked with Whiteman Air Force Base here in Missouri. They worked on some problem sets around airmen against drunk driving and ways that they could support their airmen. They were so thankful of what the students were able to produce. They hosted them for a visit to Whiteman Air Force Base and allowed the students to jump in the cockpit of a B-2 bomber.
Wow.
And that's a once in a lifetime experience. And these are the type of opportunities that they would never have if they were not participating in these. And this is part of what we're trying to create. And these students, this highlight of their college career, and so happy that we're able to facilitate these new engagements.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. Well, Mike, keep up the great work. Really, thank you so much for taking the time. You're doing awesome things. I'm really excited. I want to hear more. Hopefully we can have you back on and hear more about the successes that you're having. So again, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
My pleasure, and hopefully many more successes to come. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. We also want to thank you, our listeners. We really appreciate everyone taking the time to listen to this episode.
And if you'd like to receive new episodes as they're published, you can subscribe by visiting our website at dragonspears.com/podcast or find us on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This episode was sponsored by Dragon Spears and produced by Dante32.